Further to that, there is widespread concern amongst pilots about the flight time duty regulations, the relatively recent regulations, and the risk they pose to aviation safety. I understand these concerns have been put to you, but the reports I've had back is that CASA and you in particular have been, I think the word is dismissive of them. Why is that the case? That the pilots I've spoken to, and some very senior pilots with many thousands of hours of experience, have expressed to me that they're at the coalface and they say that there's a real issue in terms of these new regulations. And for instance, I'm told that in certain circumstances of the new regulations, CASA allows 2 pilots to be on duty for 14 hours and to be at the controls for 10 hours. I'm told that the science indicates 12 to 13 hours maximum duty in ideal conditions, and that fatigue risk increases substantially beyond 16 hours awake. And if there's a delay in a flight, if there's a delay through weather or whatever, many pilots I've spoken to, including representatives of pilots groups, are incredibly concerned about the new flight time limitation rules.
Well, thank you for that, Senator. I'll just ask our Executive Manager Standards to tell you a bit background on who we had involved in this process of the rule making of the CAO 84.
But can you understand why some people?
But I will say one thing: I'm not dismissive of complaints of anyone. I'm certainly not dismissive of pilot complaints. Having been a long-time airline pilot myself, I know
that with many hours. But why is it that pilots tell me that they feel you're dismissive of their complaints?
We've had 2 sorts of feedback on these rules. One from the industry saying they're not hard enough, and from the pilot side, we've had them saying they're too hard. That's always the balance we have to strike. But I could ask Mr. Boyd just to give you a background of where we are. Quickly.
Mr. McCormick, most flying passengers would rather take the word of the pilots than the bean counters.
Oh, I wouldn't disagree with you, Senator.
Well, the pilots feel ignored.
Peter Boyd, Executive Manager, Standards Division, CASA. Senator, as far as I'm aware, the only feedback we have from pilots, for example, on the fatigue regulations is to do with the the representation of the pilots groups on the safety action groups that we have in the regulations for consultation around fatigue risk management systems.
Right, who represent thousands of pilots.
Indeed.
And they're saying that these rules stink, and that there's a real risk in terms of fatigue and with it aviation safety. So why wouldn't you put a lot of weight on what the pilots are saying?
Senator, the feedback we're getting isn't that the rules stink, as you put it.
All right, but that they do pose a risk to aviation safety.
Senator, as I say, the only feedback we have from the Pilots Association is about that particular issue.
And will you be acting on that particular issue?
We've replied to the association to say that we are taking the CAO approach, and that's what we've taken all the way through this development of the fatigue regulations.
Can you provide us with details of documents in respect to that? Can you provide those documents as a matter of urgency, because there may well be a disallowance motion that might go down that path, I'm not sure. Finally, Mr.